Miss Nicole here from the Kinsman Library, and we will be holding our short story contest again this year. To fit with the theme Tales, Tales, and Trails, our summer discovery program, we are asking you all to write your short stories from the perspective of an animal. And for kids, you can use the first line, "If I had a tail," to begin your stories. Please type your submissions and limit them to 1,000 words. They can be submitted in person at the library or through email to reference@kinsmanlibrary.org. Either way, make sure you include your name, phone number, and age. If you're 18 years or older, you can just write adult. All stories are due by Monday, July 26th. We will read your stories and compile them into a video to air on our YouTube channel on July 29th, so you can hear all the stories from our other patrons. If you prefer that your story is read anonymously, please let us know when you submit your story to us. Now, we will give you a little inspiration by reading a few excerpts from books which are written from an animal's point of view.
Hi everyone, it's Miss Cheryl. I'm going to read a small insert from A Dog's Life by Anne M. Martin. It's titled Night. The fire is crackling and my paws are warm. My tail and my nose, my ears. I'm lying near the hearth on a plaid bed which Susan bought for me. Lying in the warmth, remembering other nights. Nights in the woods under a blanket of stars. Nights spent with the moon. Nights in the shed when I was a puppy. And the many, many nights spent searching for bone. The fire pops. I rise slowly, turn around twice, then a third time, and settle onto the bed again, Susan smiling fondly at me from her armchair. Warmth is important to an old dog, at least it is to me. I can't speak for all dogs, of course, since not all dogs are alike, and most certainly not all dogs have the same experiences. I've known of dogs who dined on fine foods and led pampered lives, sleeping on soft beds and being served hamburger and chicken, and even steak. I've known of dogs who looked longingly at the warm homes, who were not invited inside, who stayed in a garage, on a shed, or under a wheelbarrow for a few days, then moved on. I've known of dogs who were treated cruelly by human hands, and dogs who were treated with the gentlest touch, dogs who starved, and dogs who grew fat from too many treats. I've known all these dogs, and I've been all these dogs. I hope you enjoy.
And kids, for your story, you can start it with the words, "If I had a tail," and finish your story from there. So Miss Diane is going to read this book about lots of different animals that have tails. Next, she's going to read this picture book written by a dog. Can you believe it? I can't wait to hear it too.
So this story is called If I Had a Tail by Karen Clemens Warrick. What if you had a tail? What would you do? Or what tail would you pick? Can you think of an animal that you might like to be? If I had a tail like a log afloat, a gray-green tail to help me swim, I would snap my tail like a cracking whip. Can you guess what I would be if I had this kind of tail? I'm sure you can figure it out. They're very big and live in swampy land. Of course, I would be an alligator. Ooh, an alligator might be fun to be. If I had a tail like a snuggly slipper, a beautiful bushy black and white tail that I could scare a grizzly bear with, I think if I had this tail, I would scare myself. They're pretty smelly. Can you guess who belongs to this tail? That's right. It's a skunk. I'm glad it scared that bear away. Whose tail does this belong to? A tail like a day-old pancake? That's silly. A brown scaly tail shaped like my bill? Then I could duck down under the water. What lives under the water that has a big tail like an old pancake? If you guessed a platypus, you would be right. I was thinking maybe a beaver. If I had a tail like a green speckled whip, so brittle it breaks. When grabbed by a hawk, then I'd scurry away to grow a new tail. And I would be who loses their tail and regrows a new one. A lizard, of course. I think that would be pretty weird a weird feeling to lose your tail. If I had a tail that gripped like a hand, then I could go down a tree nose first or take a rest with my head hanging low. I'd be is it a snake? Oh, I see a little bit of fur here. These are nocturnal animals. Is it? It is. It's the possum. Possums are pretty cool animals. If I had a tail like a colorful fan with plumes that unfold to glitter and shimmer, sprinkled with eyes watching you watch me, I'd be... What kind of bird has these feathers? If you guessed a peacock, you would be correct. Look at that beautiful tail. If I had a tail tough as armor, a wraparound tail with bumpy, sharp spines, then I'd tie up to coral as dinner drifts by. I would be... I think they live in the ocean. Does anybody know what this is? It's the seahorse. Now, you take a turn and imagine a tail. Just begin with these words. If I had a tail. I can't wait to hear what your stories are going to be about and what you're going to choose for a tail. Our next story is called Picture Book by a Dog. Imagine if you were a dog or a cat or a giraffe or an elephant, what kind of book would you write? Maybe this will help inspire your story. This is by Michael Relth. Hello, my name is Dog, and I made you this book. I'd like to share my story. Won't you have a look? Do you want to look at his book? I would like to look at his book. Has nice pictures. I was lost before we met on my own. I roamed around hungry, wet, and searching for the home I'd never found. Oh, that's kind of sad. He doesn't have a home and he's lost. But some caring people picked me up and took me somewhere dry, and they washed me and groomed me and gave me food. Well, this story is getting better and better. But sometimes I'd still cry. Even though the place was full, I often felt alone. I dreamed I had a special friend. I wish I'd had a home. Oh, he doesn't have a home yet. I think he's at the dog pound. The day you opened up my cage, I first thought, could it be someone coming to pick up me? Of all the dogs to choose from, why on earth did you pick me? You brought me home and gave me many toys, a leash, a bed, 3 tennis balls, a collar, and a bowl to keep me fed. First, I had to find out what to chew and what not to chew. And then I learned the hard way where to poo and not to poo. Definitely not in the house. Back then, you were my teacher and you taught me good from bad. We snuggled, played, and explored the world. Now you're the friend I'd never had. I look forward to the times ahead when you'll grow big one day. I'll be an old and happy dog with fur that's turning gray. We'll remember all our favorite times, and I think we'll both agree that the reason life has been so sweet is because we are a family. Isn't that a great tale? I think that's a great tale for a dog. All right. get to writing. I'm ready to hear your stories.
Hi. In order to inspire you to write your own short story from the perspective of an animal, I am going to read a short story for you by Franz Kafka. It's called The Burrow. The burrow is my own design, and I'm happy with the way it's turned out. The only visible trace of it from outside is a big hole, but that in fact goes nowhere. After a couple of feet, you encounter bedrock. I don't want to claim it was done that way on purpose. It's just what was left over from one of my many false starts. But in the end, I thought it would be a good ruse to leave this one hole unfilled. Many ruses are so obvious that they are self-defeating. That's something I know better than most, and it's certainly a bold stroke to leave the hole to indicate that there may be something worth investigating in the vicinity. But anyone who suspects me of cowardice and my burrow of being a monument to my cowardice misunderstands me. Perhaps 1,000 paces from that hole, concealed under a removable flap of moss, is the actual entrance to the burrow. It's as secure as anything in this world can be. Of course, someone can happen to tread on the moss or push through it, and then my burrow is wide open, and whoever wants to can walk in and destroy it for all time. Though it should be pointed out that this requires certain rather rare aptitudes. I understand all that, and even now, at its zenith, my life enjoys hardly a single hour of complete quiet. In that place, in the dark, I feel myself mortal, and in my dreams, there's often a greedy snout rootling persistently around in it. People will say I should have filled in this actual entrance as well. A thin layer of compact soil at the top, a little looser further down, so that it wouldn't require too much effort for me to dig my way out afresh each time. But that isn't possible. Prudence actually demands that I have an instantaneous egress. Prudence, as so often demands, the riskier approach. These are all laborious and time-consuming calculations, and the pleasure the shrewd brain takes itself is sometimes the only reason one goes on calculating. I need instantaneous egress because it is not conceivable that for all my vigilance I might find myself under attack from some unexpected quarter. There I am, living in peace in the innermost bowels of my burrow, and meanwhile the foe is silently and slowly tunneling toward me. I'm not saying his instincts are keener than mine. It's possible that he is as unaware of my existence as I am of his. But there are passionate housebreakers who blindly churn through soil, and given the massive extension of my burrow, there is every chance of running into one of my pathways somewhere. Admittedly, I have the home advantage here. I have minute knowledge of all the paths and directions. The burglar may very easily become my victim, and a tasty one at that. But I am getting on. There are many who are stronger than I am, and the number of my foes is infinite. It could happen that I am running from one of them and wind up in the clutches of another. Oh, so many things could happen. At any rate, I require the certainty that somewhere there is an easily accessible, fully open exit for me that requires no further work on my part to reach, so that I never, please God, find myself digging, panic-stricken, through the loose soil and feel the pursuer's teeth clamped on my thighs. Nor is it only external foes that threaten me. There are also some within the earth itself. I have never seen them, but I have heard stories about them, and I firmly believe in their existence. These are creatures from within the earth. Not even legend can describe them, and even their victims can barely have seen them. They come, you hear the scratch of their claws just below you in the ground, which is their element, and already you are lost. It makes no difference here that you are in their home, because it's really their dwelling. My exit will not save me from them, as it probably wouldn't have saved me under any circumstances, but rather ruin me. Still, it remains a source of hope, and I am unable to live without it. So that is a short section of The Burrow by Franz Kafka.